Time to suspend your disbelief once again. Welcome back, everyone. This is your goddess, Sarabelle, bringing you once again back into another waters. Hope you've been all taking good care of yourselves, and making sure to eat well, sleep well, and get plenty of water. After all, the effects of chronic dehydration are worse than you might think. I'm on the other side of the spectrum. I'm chronically overhydrated, and I'm assuming my AI, the AI I'm playing as, is as well. I'm kind of in the ocean, if you will. Well, let's get right back into it. First, I quickly noticed that in our crew terminal, Voss has left another message. And it's... Oh, no, I've already read this. I must have accidentally got it early. Weird. No idea. Alright, so we have three requests, as well as the mission. And we are 25% of the way through this game, supposedly. So what should we do first, is the question. I don't want to swing by, grab all of these, because I'm quite the completionist of this game. So if we start here, we can go that way, right? Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy these explorations of different worlds. I love all of it. Yep. Alright, let's get moving. Oh. Okay, so you'll find the controls in the utilities, where sampling and everything else is. Once you've found the propulsion system, let's try it out. But remember, use the oxygen. Be careful. Oh, interesting. When you've got the hang of it, let's try to cross the northern rift. Alright. Prime before activation. So it is primed. And then activated. And then it slowly burns the fuel. Alright. Alright, let's turn that off. So we don't need to burn through oxygen right now. So we're heading into the rift. Oh yeah, I still have a bunch of shrill sacks. I don't know if I'll be needing them here. Might as well. Oh yeah. A fun question to ask all of you, listeners. My comfy listeners, who are leaning back and having a good time, resting in your seats or beds, wherever you choose to land. What's your favorite sea creature? Mine's the scalyfoot snail, because I love them so much. It's the sea life down there. Did we miss something? Or is it that crevasse over there that it's referring to? Oh, that's just more shrill sacks. I will restore my oxygen with one. Stalk roots. I've already got this one, right? right? Yeah. What was the ones I was supposed to be looking for? I have the propulsion, so as long as... Hiccups. Alright, I need to prep you, set you, vector clear. Nothing. Yeah, that fuel does not last long. Alright. Well, it's kind of to be expected. Bright pollen. Got that. Does it auto refill? No, it does not. Alright, that's useful to know. It's a quick little burst of movement power at the cost of a little bit of oxygen. That's just bright pollen again. I have to look at the map. I'm lost. Did I just miss it? I really should just write down a note of all the things that I've still yet to collect, because that inventory is rather limited. Sorry if I got quiet there. Leaning back while talking. Dive map. Alright. So, very back of that crevasse, so I need to go much further back than I've been before. Reef cap tissue. That would require me to cross over there. It's easy enough. There was access to it. Access to one of the rifts earlier in the game. Is that where we'll have to go? Just down and over, maybe? That's an option. No, actually, not habitat. Lab, no. Sample storage. I'll just keep 4 shrill sacks on me. Alright, we'll go to this one. Guys, shrill sacks make good emergency oxygen. Probably gonna have us go this way. I was like, why was that just a big sphere? I think I'm good for now, at least. Tall canopy. On the cover of this canopy, I can see a series of tall pillars out of the east, each one topped with a garden of unknown life. strong current. A strong current cuts across the edge east of the shelf, with the turquoise haze of the open ocean stretching beyond. Alright. Power up. There we go. Gonna make this relatively quick. Current's edge. East of here, the current fades, and strange pillars rise up from the dark ocean floor. Large pillar. This large pillar extends down into the murk of the deep water below, standing improbably straight and tall, a geologic anomaly. Feathery creature. A cleverly camouflaged creature made... Oh, funny, these feathery creatures are all around these gardens. Let's start observing their movements. This cleverly camouflaged creature. The triple C's are not kind to my poor tongue. Mainly composed of feathery fawn-like arms, which it waves rhythmically as it moves. Pillar garden. This pillar is topped with a layer of bright and sunlit life. Looking around each of the pillars, here is the same green-gold peak. Creature tracks. Patterns of dents in the sand show a path of feathery creatures that cross from pillar to pillar in slow, purposeful loops. So they must be the pollinators then. Silken plant. These long, pale green... These twisted strands are like webs between the pillars. Let's start logging them. Yeah, new plant. Plant are entwined on flat blades, which the trail horizontally between pillars. Shimmering petals. In the sunlight, these spade-like petals open themselves wide to the light, welcoming it gratefully. Another feathery creature. It appears that a number of creatures' feathery arms have sharper edges that it uses to prune pillar garden's flora. Interesting. Green webs. Between these pillars, bright green webs of twisted tendrils extend, forming thin pathways from garden to garden. Interesting. Head to the edge first. Oh, that's a sample spot. Creature tracks. This is gonna be animal feces. Oh no, shed feather. I mean, feces is an important biological material. Pillars crossing. How did these monoliths form? Perhaps they were cores of harder rock which remained when the rest was eroded away? That would be the most likely cause. Like swim past me. Oh, they walk. Do they walk? What's the name of these feathers? Yeah, I can't tell. Twisted tendrils. The gap between these tendrils are webbed with fine strands, almost invisible to the naked eye. Silken plant. These silken strands meet in places and become tangled in one another, forming complex webs that are slow to navigate. Alright, might as well head this way. Oh, that's also a sample location. Oh, shimmering petals. Sampling available here as well. Silken strands. Shed feather. Silken plant. These trailing plants can be of great length and appear to only grow from the sides of the pillars. How did they form? I'm presuming that maybe there was a root between these areas that the plants were on, and then the silken plant just grew in place of it as it expanded, maybe? Wide gap. These gaps between the pillars are a pattern I cannot read, one that speaks of complex geological history. Yeah, you're a biologist, not a geologist. Enclosed water. This patch of water is entirely enclosed by web tendrils. Thin strands float through water like lost hairs. Tendril holes? These two tendril branches almost meet before disappearing into holes in the pillar. Are they rooted inside the rock? Silken plant. Observing the underside of these plants, I can see layers of spores. Stomata, perhaps? For waste release? Large pillar. This broad pillar is full of rough-looking boreholes. Hidden plates, glinting here and there, suggest they are burrows. So something else is on here, too. Maybe these burrow? Feathered creatures. I've observed these feathered creatures moving between pillars along the web-like plants that connect them. Evie. Alright. Silken plant. I've observed these plants in shades, which stretch from bright green to ivory white. Is this an indicator of their age or health? Yeah, I mean, real-world corals will bleach white when they are not healthy. Silken plant. I've noticed these strands don't connect directly to the pillars, but disappear into holes in their sides. What are they connected to, then? I'm presuming they're the roots of a plant that's already there, maybe? That was a sound. Burrowing creature. Oh no, the burrowing creature is something different. When disturbed, this segmented... Oh, these creatures are tricky to catch a glimpse of. Let's see if we can scare a few more. Feathery creature. It seems that if they're knocked off a surface, these creatures can swim, but very efficiently. Must be an emergency measure. So yes, there are crawling creatures. Bold pillar. The lower parts of this pillar are marked with narrow holes. Around them, small plates of chitin shells glint. Quick creatures. Twisted tendrils, sample candidate. What dictates which pillars the tendrils stretch to and from? I've yet to see a tendril which is only halfway formed. Yeah, I'm guessing it was a gradual thing as the rocks shed, maybe? Okay, plates. This is just going to be some of the more silken strands, yep. Burrowing creatures. These creatures scrape away at the pillar's surface, carving their burrows into the rock. It is impressive given the density of these pillars. Pillar gardens. This pillar top is thick with waving petals, each one caked in tiny particles of golden pollen. Sea silk. New species logged. Name these sea silks. Though I'm not sure what kind of plant it is. Check my notes back at the base. Long strands of pale green and white plant matter that twist into broad, flat bridges and webs between the pillars' gardens. Twisted tendrils. These entwined flat blades of kelp that hold themselves taut between pillar tops. It's just gonna ask if we want to collect the streams. Still water. The green tendrils that enclose the space seem to calm the currents, creating this pool of still water. That's just shimmer blooms and open water. The green tendrils don't seem to reach east beyond this point, preferring instead to turn back and to the protected waters south of here. Blue haze. Out away from the pillar, as the ocean grants a sense of vertigo, fading down into the unknown depths below. Barren pillar. This pillar, unlike the others, lacks a garden of its own. Have the plants been cleared, or have they simply not reached this far yet? Yeah, nothing try to scare up a few more of those creatures to, get that research done. Nope, that's ones I've already researched. Individuals I've already researched. This is such a fascinating world. Twisted tendrils, the individual thin fibrous strands which make up these pillar bridges are so fine they could almost be silk. Miniature garden. Some of these pillar tops are very small, but that doesn't seem to stop the petals colonizing them with their bright shapes. Yeah. Individual. Burrowing creatures. Observe these creatures have a bright tail lure. Many made from many thin pointing plates. What is the purpose, I wonder? Bait, maybe? No idea. Tendril maze. It's easy to get confused once you are among these webbed tendrils, navigating between sunken islands of life. Crossing creatures. The feathery creatures that pass along the tendrils seem to be unshakable in their routines, each one carefully doing its rounds. Could they be like hummingbirds where if they stop eating a lot, they just literally run out of calories? It's apparent that matter from the blooms, such as pollen, collects in this creature's feathery arms. Is this a natural phenomenon? I'm gonna presume yes. The petals do have their pollens sticky and rest on the underside. These tendrils have grown close enough to each other to form complex tangles of strands between the small pillars. There we go, gardener. These feathery, slow-moving creatures that prune the plants of the pillar. Call them these gardeners. They're so attentive and purposeful. I want to know more about them. So they're like ants? Because ants garden as well. In between the pillars along their silken bridges. Crossing strands. Where these tendrils meet, the feathered creatures are able to carefully clamber from one to another, leaving behind feathers as they do. Thin pillar. This impossibly thin pillar rises up from the murk like a pencil, its sides marked by a faint strata of geological eons. Shimmer blooms. There. We can't actually make it to that island. Oh, that's one that we have. There we go. Oh, that's a cannon we've already seen. What do we harvest here? Oh, chitin plate, because we scared the thing. I kind of do want to check out further, but I don't think we're going to find much. Yeah. Nothing new. Further. Could continue that way up north, but northeast, whatever. Oh my goodness, we're burning through energy relatively quickly. Sampling available, it's just going to be the fibrous strands again. New individual. Yay, pillar worms. These long, segmented creatures with distinctive bright tails burrow into the hard rock and pillars to protect themselves. Name these pillar worms. They seem to have burrows all over the place. Yes, they do. Long tendril. These tendril has to stretch a long distance to bridge these pillars. How do they grow like this? Without any support. Pillar's garden, sacred candidate. This pillar top is a little sparse than some of the others. Perhaps these more southern pillars have only recently been seeded. So some more oxygen, because I feel like I'm going sampling something new here. No, it's just bright pollen. Anything else? We've yet to see anything that was multiples. Lone tendril. Down here, only a single bridge leads from pillar to pillar. A lone creature braving the currents as it crosses. Lone pillar. Despite sitting all the way out here, this pillar is hooked up to the others by a long tendril. Feathery punicle. Creature's left behind one of its delicate arms here. Perhaps in order to escape from a predator? We could take a sample of it. Yes, we could. Whole new material, again. And I know the way I'm moving around in this water is not the best for searching thoroughly, but... Pillar garden. Out away from the other gardens, this wide pillar seems like a calming sanctuary, a blob of green and gold sea in the blue. Yeah, it's just gonna be something we've seen before, bright pollen. Last tendril, one final bridge stretches down to the othermost pillar, its strands swaying in the rising current. Exposed tendril. Tendril loosely dangles from the pillar, its roots pulled out by the rock. It is pale and bulbous. You could sample it here. How many samples we get out of this thing? Alright, one. Silken root. Spherical, translucent ball. Is it a root? Pillar. Despite being so thick, this pillar is cut through with small holes, and on top of it, a couple of shell plates catch the light. It's gonna be kiting, isn't it? Yep, just kiting. I'm not too worried about that. Germinating garden. These small, young petals are starting to open up to the three suns of Gliese 667cc. This place will be even more beautiful one day. New plant. Alright, extract. Oh, there's another sample here. Alright, let's just consume this drill sack. Not too concerned about it. Petal shoot. Alright, and that looks like it's the dead end. Let's head back for now. Because I feel like I have a lot to read. Whole new species, a lot of samples. So. Sample. I wonder if we'll eventually fill this whole thing. I would like to. It would feel complete. Damn, that's quite a few new samples. 6 new ones in a single run. Yeah, lab. Sample analysis. Pillarworm taxonomy. Sea silk taxonomy. Shimmer bloom taxonomy. Gardener taxonomy. Mammalia novae, Setophora, or bristle carriers, the gardener, Plumosus tapiaris, Toparius. Yeah, Toparius. Alright. Gardeners are feathery, slowly creatures that live among the pillars of pillar garden flora. Their upper part is mainly composed of densely packed fern-like arms. Underneath is a body resting on a dense profusion of short root-like legs that anchor the gardener, but also enable it to walk, albeit very slowly. As gardeners move, they also rhythmically wave their arms, though it is unclear if this is for balance or if it's part of their pruning action within the petal gardens they inhabit. Gardeners don't do anything fast, but they do travel between pillars using the silken tendrils that grow between them. More analysis is needed to discern why, and what their relationship with these gardens really is. Seems like some kind of pollinator, but moves like a turtle. Or a crab. I wonder if there's any ants that is pollinated by a crab. There's gotta be, right? Analysis of gardener's feathers, which I have called a pinicule. No, there's no Q. Pinule is revealed. No, the gardeners feed on the same thing that they camouflage themselves as. Garden's petals. Gardener feathers, other pinules, have a razor-like edge with which the gardener cuts away thin sections of petals to feed on, without damaging the plant. However, unlike an actual feather, they contain nerves which suggest the gardener can deliberately control them for precise pruning and for maneuvering in the water if they become dislodged from the tendril bridge. Why they risk such journeys, given their ineffective swimming, remains to be seen. Further study may unlock the puzzle of their purpose within the biome, so they might actually just straight up be gardeners. They're gardening the shimmer leaf. They are spreading it, they are pollinating it, and they are feeding from it. A very mutual relationship between the species and the individual gardeners. Sorry, typed out of the game. Alright. Deborah's coat. Analysis of the gardener's arm, filled with pinnules, has shed some light on the relationship between them and the pillar colorings. Deborah's coating sample is actually pollen from various garden species, suggesting that the gardeners are an important part of the cross-pollination process. This means their contribution to the ecosystem is not just limited to pruning the blooms. They help propagate them too. So kind of like an ant, and its different plants and molds that it likes to garden. Indeed, given their roaming paths from pillar to pillar, they must have some way of communicating, ensuring that no one garden becomes wilted or overgrown. This could be eusocial, social hive structure, or territorial signature they leave behind. Either way, they are a well-coordinated team of marine landscape gardeners. So yeah, definitely ant-like. And we get a sketch. Oh yeah, that's really plant-like. Yeah, it just straight up looks like an actual fern. An undersea fern. Pollen, cotton pinnules, thin, flexible limbs. Yeah, they really do. I guess technically speaking, is it kelp or one of the other ones is technically also an animal too, not a plant. What is it? Yeah, I think that's correct. Kelp's. I'm sure that is one of the weird sea creatures that we think of as a plant is actually an animal kind of thing. Is that a similar case of this? Small, simple eyes. open, flexible limbs, feathery. Yeah, that's just straight about sea fern. Pillar worms. Pillar worms are long, thin, segmented creatures that live deep in the dark tunnels and recesses of the rock pillars found in the East Reef. They're frustratingly difficult to observe properly, due both to their shyness and their surprisingly rapid swim speed. They, however, can be startled out of their burrows by consistent tapping of the rocks. Once glimpsed, it's evident they have striations that taper to a bright lure-like tail. Their front half is protected with overlapping rigid plates. They also seem to burrowing or excavating creatures ejecting dust and sediment periodically from their burrows. Further analysis is required to determine why they live so reclusively within the pillars. They're definitely some sort of predatory species because they have the lure, unless they use that for reproduction, like some of those species of parasitic clams, which are, I think, cool as hell. Analysis of a pillar worm's chitinous plate shows a creature heavily adapted to its burrowing lifestyle. It seems that the chitinous plates found around the organism's head are precisely grooved, allowing the worm to chip away at existing recesses to create tunnels, and funneling the sediment back towards the entrance. These grooves should also help protect the creature's head from abrasions while traversing the burrows. It's logical that when they use bugs to create the tunnels that other life, especially the silken tendrils and the petal gardens, require, they must be one of the foundations to this unique ecosystem, turning the rock-hard pillars into vertical gardens through their obsessive burrowing. Oh, so well, they are a worm that prepares the soil for the other plants. So plants, proper plants. Oh no, well, more on the shimmer blooms. On to the theories. Analysis of the shimmer bloom shoot has revealed a coiled stalk, which each shimmer bloom possesses, allowing them to control their height in the water. This means that if the shimmer bloom grows beyond the optimum height for depth for photosynthesis, it is able to extend its stalk to rise up to in the water towards the surface. However, due to the constant sunlight, which is an effect of Gliese 667 cc's tidally locked orbit, shimmer blooms also use this ability to retract themselves away from the sun in order to protect themselves from cell damage. Oh yeah, I talked about how actual plants do something similar, where they shut off their photosynthesis in order to protect their chloroplasts from cell damage. And once it gets too damaged, the individual leaves can actually end up dying. Scientists have, I forgot to double check that between episodes, but I read somewhere previously that scientists had somehow managed to get them to stop doing the off period, which would make them more efficient, but use more nutrients, probably. It's been years since I've done that reading. These beautiful plants are highly attuned to their environment, and I can think of no better species to give Moné's name to. It is a name that deserves to live on in this place. Sorry I can't do more. So this is named after Monet. I hope we find Monet alive. Me of is it irises? And the leafy plant that has a similar I don't know, they remind me of irises, I think. They're big leaves around the flowers. Risa stamen, extendable stalk, section Q, pollen producing stamen, photosynthetic cells on top. I thought the Yeah, it's releasing the, something underneath. Shimmer Bloom Garden. So they all like happen in the same direction too. I sure hope we find an egg. Sea stalks time. Oh, we got all of them down to the sketch. This bright green plant stretches its silken tendrils in long horizontal swathes between pillars of the eastern reef. This plant is characterized by its fibrous, fine, and flexible strands that can be as thick as a rope or as thin as a human hair, appearing almost white in sunlight. How could they form their bridges, and why the plant's tendrils do not rise to the surface is unclear. I've observed one plant intertwined with strands from other pillars, and when these multiple strands meet, often in areas roughly equidistant from their respective pillars, they seem to form a web. I wonder if strands from individual plants are drawn to one another. So maybe the strands themselves are alive, and they use that as like an self-producing web. Tricky plant spiders. I mean, spider silk is a thing. Analysis of a strand of sea silk has shown that it is in fact two different plants that have somehow conjoined where they met. Moreover, there are younger growths formed near the end of each plant strand, demonstrating their ability to form new shoots along the length, which must be why I've observed a web-like pattern in some of the tangles. However, the new growths require a good deal of energy. The strands are green on one side, a sign of photosynthesis, no doubt, though photosynthesis is again not limited to green. It can also be blue or purple, at least in the Earth's. There realistically is not an actual hard limit about how they photosynthesize. As long as they get the energy required, which means there's quite a lot of pigments you could potentially use. Even more than those three. Those are just the three that Earth has. However, new growths require a good deal of energy. The strands on one side are green, like a sign of photosynthesis, no doubt. But the underside is distinctly darker and more porous looking. Are the strands able to absorb matter floating up from underneath them? So, if they absorb things around them, isn't it? I think moss also does that, but don't quote me on that. I was surprised to discover that sea salt does not end in roots. After finding a damaged strand, I found it emanating from a kind of silken ball that I initially took to be a root. However, in lab analysis, it is revealed to be an entirely separate creature. Sea silk is a product or plant-like limb of this organism. I discovered the root itself to be able to put down, but also retract strands of sea silk from within. Oh, so it's not a plant? It's a plant and a spider? So that's a symbiotic plant and spider. Interesting. Its unusual fusion of creatures is a symbiotic relationship or a parasitic one. There's another creature that kind of does this called the stentor. It's a freshwater little organism which photosynthesizes during the day and hunts at night, putting it in a weird category outside of plant, animal, and fungus. Or I might be just taking things out of my ass. It's been a while since I've read anything up on this. Regardless, these curious creatures and their growths are the bridge builders of the pillar. I fumbled that so bad. Regardless, these curious creatures and their growths are the bridge builders of the pillar ecosystem, turning isolated gardens into a connected network and helping them flourish. Excuse me. Throat is working hard. Bridge building tendril, web strands, root creature. So yeah, something like lichen, except it's a creature rather than whatever lichen is technically classified as. Because lichen are weird in that they have a photosynthesizer inside them, and other creatures also do that too. Well, plants and other organisms do. Creating all sorts of weird categories that don't fit nicely into our own typical worldviews. I love them very much. Always just love the weirder creatures of this world, of both this world and the game worlds. Bridge building tendril, web strands, new shoots, and entwined fibers. Yeah, so that would be a cool creature to see in the real world. Technically, if the creature is feeding off the photosynthesizing of the tendrils, then it would technically be a motile plant, right? No, the motile producer at the very least. My throat is fucked though, so you probably can hear it in my voice if my mic quality wants to survive. My mic was having issues earlier. I hope I don't lose any recording. In any case, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed. I'll be seeing you in the next episode. Take good care of yourselves. Make sure to drink plenty of water and get good snacks. See you when I see you. Bye!